Hello, everybody. This is How's Name with episode 6 of Ramblings. In this episode, we're going to talk specifically about how to get through college quickest, or being the most time efficient you can be while in college. You're like, well, we've already talked about college. Yes, we talked about the usefulness of a degree, and how to get the most out of college. That was back in episode 2 of Ramblings. On stream, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about like how to be the most time efficient you can with college. So you're not wasting time taking this class, um waiting on these classes like for a later semester. So if you follow these like rules that I followed back when I was getting my degree, you can make a degree you can get out like a semester early, 2 semesters early. It's all entirely dependent on the individual, like how much work they want to put into this, how many classes they want to take during or with these steps in mind. So I'm just gonna go through this little plan and explain each of them one by one. So the first one, as you can see, is CLEP exams. So a CLEP exam is something you can use to test out of core classes. You're like, what's a core class? Core class is anything that all majors, regardless of regardless of the college, have to take at a university. So whether you're an accounting major or computer science major, you're all going to take like psychology 101. Okay, that's a core class. You're all going to take microeconomics, accounting, yada yada yada. That's a core class. You can use a CLEP exam. It's offered by clep.org or something like that. And you use a CLEP exam if you get a 50 out of 80, or depending on the requirements of the university. The CLEP's requirement is 50 out of 80. That's their recommended. Like, if they get a 50 on this test, then they're good. They know enough about the class, so they're good. But some other universities might be like, you need a 55 or a 45 or a 60 on a CLEP exam to test out of this class. So you're like, okay. So a CLEP exam, it's like you take the exam. If you pass it, it's like that class you never took it. You never need to take it. It's like a line through it, like a check mark. There's no like A, B, C, D. It's just like a check mark. Like, this person's done. They already had this class to begin with. Like that. They know enough. Yeah, it's a CLEP exam. You want to take some universities, like my university, for example, had like a limit to like 3 or 4 CLEP exams. You can only test out of like 9 or 12 hours worth of classes using CLEP exams. So check with your university, see what the limit might be, see what their policy is regarding CLEP exams. These are pretty, like, CLEP exams are pretty widely used, so that should work. Let me lower this. Yeah, that's the first thing. Any core class that you don't want to take, or like, basically use as many CLEP exams as you can. If they say you can test out a 12 CLEP exam or 12 hours worth, that's 4 classes. All right, test out of those 4 classes. Pick any 4 core classes and test out of them. Okay. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing, excuse me. Take English/essay/reading heavy classes during the summer. And you're like, why that? Well, think about it. If you're taking 3 other classes plus a reading/essay class/English class, you have to put a lot of time into reading and then crafting an essay or crafting a report for that English class. So it's best, at least, well, my rule of thumb was to take any English classes, any heavy reading classes during the summer. And that's because I can put as much time needed into those courses and making sure that what I put out is something that I'm actually happy with. Because then there's not external factors affecting me like other classes and stuff of that nature. So that's just my rule of thumb. Anything like reading heavy, take during the summer. Number 3 is remember classes that are offered most frequently and try to take them outside of fall and spring. So the reason for this is because some classes, when you get higher up, like junior, senior level, some classes are only offered in the fall or the spring. And you're like, why is that? Because the frequency of them, because who's taking senior classes, right? Only seniors. Well, the senior pool of the amount of students in the senior pool is the least of any other like classification. So they usually only offer senior classes depending on the course and depending on like the major, like either in the fall or in the spring. So that means if you take all the other classes in the fall, right? Let's say you have 5 classes left on your transcript that you need to take. 5 classes left on your CPS, candidate plan of study. A, B, C, D, and E, right? If E is only offered in the fall, then that means in the spring, you need to take A, B, C, D, or you just need to make it so that the the term in which, or the semester in which a class is only offered is like reserved for that. So you, whenever, even if you're thinking this like years ahead, when you're a junior, you're like, okay, 1 and 3 classes, 1 and 3 are only offered in the spring. So therefore, whenever the spring comes around, I'll have those two. I'll have all the requirements for these two already done from the fall. So things of those nature. Um, so the classes that are offered the least frequently, remember that, because those are classes that are only offered once a year, a fall or spring. So remember that, and then sort of reserve those, like in your head, reserve those on your calendar for that semester for those classes. And then the classes that are offered the most frequently, so like fall, spring, summer, like every like year round, those classes that are offered year round, uh try to section those off as well. Be like, okay, this entire this hub of classes, this agglomeration of classes, I can take anytime, no problem. The availability of them so very high. So you want to put those towards the summer, right? Because the summer classes, like you want to pair those with summer. Basically, you want to take them outside of that reserved time slots. Yeah. So like 3 sort of feeds into 4. You save the fall and spring semester for classes that are only offered there as much as possible. So that, I already touched on that. And then 5, always take summer classes and mini mesters. So this is how you get, like, all these steps so far is how you like quicken your learning track. But like this one especially, because some, like a lot of students, especially when you're high school, you consider summer like your breakaway. You consider December break your breakaway, like break time. No, no, don't do that. Okay, like you want to use your summer class, like you want to use your summers wisely, December wisely, your breaks wisely, and do mini mesters. Okay, and you're like, what's a mini mester? A mini mester is like things that can be done during breaks. So like December break, or actually, yeah, it's the big one, December break. Uh, they can offer a mini semester during that time frame. We can get like one class, and the class only takes 1 month, stuff like that, like a 4-week class. So I recommend those. And if your university doesn't offer those things, your college doesn't offer that mini mester, find a community college that does offer mini mesters, because I promise you, community colleges do offer mini mesters. That's like their thing, to offer classes all the time, anytime. Find a community college that your university accepts. So talk with your advisor. Be like, okay, what community college in the area do you accept like credits from? And it's like, okay, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, so go to one of them, sign up for classes there, take a mini mester, get 1 or 2 classes done out of the way over the December break, and then you can just transfer the credits. Very simple, very easy. And then there's 7, take prerequisite classes as soon as you can. So this is a big one, pretty important too, because like I said, we were talking earlier about those classes that take only fall or spring, so the most infrequent classes. Those are usually classes that require a ton of prerequisites. So I'm talking like, so for computer science, you might need to take computer science 1, computer science 2, data structures, advanced data structures, until you can take this last 5th class that you need to take as a senior. Okay, if you don't start taking those prerequisites when you're a sophomore or a freshman, then by the time you get up there and you're ready to take that last class, or like when you're in like your last year, right? You're like, wow, I'm ready to take this last class, which is like super advanced data structures. Like that's an example. Super advanced data structures. Well, you still need to take data structures, advanced data structures before you can take. So that's 2 semesters worth of classes. That you need to take. You can't take at the same time because one feeds into the other one. So you have 2 prerequisites you have to take before you can take this last one. So just steadily do prerequisite classes. Like when I was in college, my first or my second semester, I took computer science 1. Then my 3rd semester, I took computer science 2. 4th semester, took computer science, or no, took data structures. 4th semester, took something else. So you just want to steadily do them. So because then those are always prerequisites for the more advanced classes. So junior, senior, those are always prerequisites. So by the time you become a junior and senior, you already have all the prerequisites needed to do that. Yeah, this last one I just put in there for textbooks. It was just like a tip, I guess. So yeah, that's a website you can go to get like any textbook you need online, like any PDF. And I use that for like the last like year, maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years of my university degree. So degrees. So yeah, worked out just fine for me. So I'd recommend for anyone else. Obviously, if you need the PDF code, you can get that from somewhere, or like not PDF code, like book code for degrees, or not degrees. Fuck, access code for books. You can get that like separately, and usually that's cheaper than buying like the cheap or like the scam books. Like yeah, buy this entire book new so you can get the access code where you can do your homework because I'm a like the professor. When really it's the system, and I don't really blame the professor too much. So okay. Yeah, that's about it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you can always just put them in the comments or tweet me. Yada yada yada. Uh, yeah, I think I'm done talking about college now. I've pretty much given all my like input and my experience between this one and episode 2 of Ramblings. So, uh, yeah, I think we're done. All right, YouTube. We'll see you later.